Hi, I'm Mike Taylor. I'm Operations Director with the Society of St James.
Mike, how long have you been working at the Society of St James?
Well, it's too long to count actually, but I think somewhere in the region of about 21 years, I would have thought.
And what have been your main memories for your time here, your favourite experiences working at Society of St James?
I think my favourite experience, I've done a lot of different jobs and I've worked with a lot of different projects during those years. And I couldn't pick out a favourite for you because I've worked with so many great teams, done so many interesting jobs in the Society of St James, working with teams for homeless people, substance misuse, mental health, um, uh, specialist services for the Royal Navy, run a cafe, all sorts of different things, and they're all come with their unique challenges. They're all extremely interesting. So I can't actually pick out a particular single special moment. They've all been fantastic, really, throughout the time I've worked here.
So you say you've been at SSJ for a long time. When was it that you started here, and what role did you start as?
Well, I joined as a project worker. I guess it was around 1999, something like that. And I was a project worker at half-time at Charlton Road, and I had another job in Winchester for a housing association there. And those are some of my first roles. So was working in a house with five other people, and sort of working on support plans and trying to get them moved on. In fact, one of the guys who I moved on in those early years lives around the corner from me, and I see him regularly all the time, all those years later, and we often stop and have a chat because he's only a dozen houses down the road from me, so that's kind of nice.
So a lot has changed in the time since you started at the Society of St James. So you've obviously moved into different roles since then, and you're now one of our senior managers. How has the charity changed in that time, in your view?
So in some ways it's changed dramatically. We're something like 10 times the size that we were when I joined the organisation. So we're doing so many more projects, and the scale of those projects is much larger. I think one of the big changes that we had was competitive tendering. When that came in, that changed how we developed services and how we responded to the need of services. So in some ways, and of course the centre has got bigger with more people doing specialist roles. In some respects, earlier on there were less people and you had to do a small amount of everything, rather now you have some specialist roles with HR and other services that give you a lot of help in the work that you're doing. So in a lot of respects it's changed dramatically, but in some respects it's not changed very much at all. In terms of the work we're doing today is very similar to the work we were doing back then. The teams of people I work with today very similar to the teams of people I was working back then. The influence that you can have in your project and in your area where you're working is still very, very significant. And I think that was always the thing that I liked at Society of St James, was the ability to build my own project, do my own things. I was only really constrained by my own energies, and I think in some ways that's still there. Still feels like a very intimate organisation, and that still feels good, and an organisation that takes challenges and is still focused in the same sort of area regionally.
And how do you see the future playing out for the Society of St James? What challenges do you see coming forward for us over the next few years?
Well, we've always got with tendering the ability to grow dramatically or reduce in size dramatically. So that sort of fluctuating of tenders is always in our mind. So I would say stage one in our future is to survive with our existing services. And that doesn't sound like much of an aspiration. Believe me, behind that there's a lot of work and effort that needs to go in just to stand still in this sector at the moment. I've got a lot of national organisations that would love to be doing some of the work that we're doing here in Southampton and Portsmouth, and we need to make sure that we're the ones doing that work because we're the best to provide those services in this area. So that's essential that Society of St James carries on doing some of the really good work that it's established over these years, and we remain here in Southampton, Portsmouth, Hampshire, doing that. I would love also to see us do more work across Hampshire, and develop our skills and expertise. A lot of housing. I mean, I think I'd like to see us do a lot more, purchasing more properties, which we are as fast as we can all the time, and providing a really good provision for the future, so that people can be assured that they can receive support through the Society of St James and access into really good quality accommodation. I think those are the sort of things that I'd like to see the Society of St James focusing on.
You mentioned that we work with the Royal Navy. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how that project came about?
Yeah, so that's just one of a number of different services that we're doing at the moment. One of the things I think about Society of St James, it always seems to maximise its opportunities. As you know, working with fundraising and doing the promotion, a lot of opportunities come our way. And I think Society of St James is good at having a go at most things. So this was something that was an opportunity that arose through the work we were doing with veterans. We were approached by the Royal Navy Royal Marine Charity and asked if we would provide a service for serving personnel in the Royal Navy to receive alcohol and gambling support. And that's something that just doesn't happen in the forces. The forces look after their own. They don't want anyone poking in from the outside, or charities, and so it took a lot of setting up. I was in a lot of meeting with a lot of people with a very high rank, and that's been quite interesting to develop that service. And we've got Leanne Gallagher is leading that up at the moment, and it's a very interesting, very unique service.
And you also mentioned that you sort of manage the cafe side of things over at Victoria Park. So that's obviously been something quite interesting, something unique for the Society of St James. Can you tell us a little bit about the cafe in the park and how that benefits Society of St James and also the local community?
Sure. So I think when you work with services, you realise quite quickly that there's a lot of support available for people once they're in our services. So if you come and you're homeless, you can get a hostel space with us, or a supported space in one of our accommodation. You get support workers attached to you. You get opportunities that are linked to that through training initiatives. It's the same with substance misuse. There's a lot invested when you're in support, but actually there's a big gap after that. So once you leave supported housing or hostel services, or you come to an end of the time that you can have that support for, then there's quite a bit. There's quite a gap really. How do you get people leaving services and back into work? Well, we've been doing volunteering projects and training projects to try and fill that gap. But what we really wanted to do, and of course we have Jamie's Computer Club, which does something similar. What we want to do is to try and run programs, run initiatives that offer real employment opportunities to people to escape treatment services or support services, get back on their feet really, build up some work experience and training, get a CV behind them so that they can go on and get employed. And that's what we've been doing at the cafe. So Lynn runs the cafe in Portsmouth, and it's a fantastic place. It's a beautiful building. We've had it now for coming up to our 5-year, we're in 5th year next year, and we've developed a lovely offer there in the park, somewhere you can come and have really nice barista coffee, lovely meal, really nice presented in lovely surroundings. And we use paid staff, professional paid staff, and staff from volunteers and paid placement opportunities for people who are trying to get back on their feet. So that whole package is kind of really good. It's very supportive, but it's very professional. So you go there, people go there, they don't go there to support the Society of St James. We don't really advertise the Society of St James. They go there because they want a nice coffee and a nice environment. And it's kind of nice to be doing a commercial venture, something that feels like a commercial venture, but actually it's a social enterprise, doing a lot of fantastic work. So it feels great. It's very, very different. And Lynn does a fantastic job down there in Portsmouth making that run, which is no mean feat.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Pay It Forward scheme at the CAF?
Yeah, it's a lovely scheme, Pay It Forward. The idea is that people can buy a coffee for themselves and buy a coffee for someone else, so they don't have to know that person. They can just pay get a voucher, they can write a comment on the voucher, and then a homeless person later in the day can come in and they can use that coffee that's been purchased for them, and it's really nice for a homeless person, because homeless people are often given handouts on the street, but this is actually somewhere you can go and sit down. It's a nice way, a lot of dignity, and go and have a proper coffee, and it's a great place for them to interact with their family members and children, and actually somewhere where they can just receive some sustenance and care. So it's a really nice scheme. It's a very gentle scheme, and it's a lovely way for people in Portsmouth to be able to give back something to help those who are more vulnerable in their community.
So we've detailed a lot about what it's like to work at the Society of St James and some of the things that you do. For somebody who comes across this charity for the first time, how would you describe that to them, and how would you appeal to them to support us?
Well, of course, it's a lovely thing to come and do the sort of work that our teams are doing. It's very interesting. Every day is different. It's a challenge. Certainly doing frontline support work or frontline drug and alcohol work or mental health work is a tough challenge, but what the Society of St James does is give support, put you in a team, give you the help that you need to be able to get the best out of you. So I've always found it a great place to work. There's lots of really good opportunities for people who want to build a career in this sector, and for the Society of St James, we value people's experience, and we look to recruit people who are enthusiastic and caring, and those are qualities that you can't get through examination, but they're qualities, they're life experiences, and we really look for really strong characters to play a leading role in our teams. So yeah, it's a great place to work. Of course, don't have to work for the Society of St James to support the Society of St James. Small amounts of money mean a huge amount to us. Although we're now an organisation with a large turnover, a lot of that money is tied up in buying drug and alcohol equipment and drug costs and accommodation costs. All our money is spent on service delivery. Everything we get in our turnover. What can sometimes make a huge amount of difference are those small amounts of money that we're able to give people in terms of hardship and support, or volunteering opportunities and pay for travel and all those sorts of things. Those sorts of bits of money are stuff we don't get that from the government. We don't get that in our tenders. We've got to find that through giving, and so many people support the Society of St James, and I think that's a really positive thing.
It's been a very challenging year and a bit with COVID. How has that impacted your job and your role at SSJ, and what have you seen happen at the charity during that time?
There has been really unique challenges that we've all faced. In Portsmouth, certainly that's where my focus of work is at the moment. I've been working with some great teams there, and really what they've achieved in terms of keeping homeless people safe, 440 people accommodated in the period of lockdown, and kept safe and secure. We've taken over hotels, we've set them up with short time, moved people in, helped the council secure additional funding for services, and now the landscape for homelessness, the buildings that are available are way better, and Society of St James has played a leading role in helping the councils to meet their objectives and keep their residents supported during that time, and really provide a really good provision for homeless people, and lots of support in that time. It's been actually really, really interesting, really challenging for teams. I know some of the teams have worked absolutely so hard in this period, and yeah, they have changed the landscape of homelessness in Portsmouth, and what we've got to do now is keep that change going, keep the pressure on the local authorities to fund these, and government to fund these properties in the way that they should be funded, so that we can do all the work, give all the support to those who need our care and support at this time.
And so you've been at the Society for more than 20 years. I guess that during that time you encounter some of the people that you've worked with across the years and the journeys they have been on. Have you any stories about some of the people that may have come into our services and then you've met them again at some point down the line, and how being part of the Society of St James has impacted and improved their lives?
Yeah, of course, you see people all the time actually after you work, and because I live local and I've delivered services here, and I've worked in just about every type of service that we've got in the organisation. I see people all the time who've come through the services, and sometimes they come up and thank you and tell you their story. As I said to you, I live just around the corner from someone I moved on 20 years ago. I see him almost on a weekly basis, and he's getting on fantastic and does all sort of work. And just to see him settled, is great, and see that smile on his face. It's fantastic to be able to see how people have come on. The stories are way too many to mention. There's just so many people that receive the support and will tell you how it's changed their lives, and how timely it was and how it's helped them get a foot back on the ladder. In fact, a lot of our staff are staff who've come through our services, then come on as volunteers and now work in part of our teams. And I work with some fantastic, inspirational people who've had the most traumatic experiences, life experiences, and have come through that route. So we're surrounded all the time by these excellent stories and outcomes, and it's not a bad way to get some reward from how you spend your days working.
Mike, just to finish up, have you got any messages that you want to give across to any of the people watching, our supporters, any members of staff?
Obviously, just thank all the teams. I genuinely enjoy my time working here because I work with inspirational people. And those that support the Society of St James, thank you very much for your support. It is invaluable. It's sometimes in the small giving and the small amount of support that's available can make the most difference to individuals. So thank you, and be encouraged that there's so much good work going on, and so much to be done.